Welcome to another end of the month new releases review. I'll be reviewing a few movies from October. Let's just kind of start this thing off because why not? So the first movie I want to talk about is the new Adam Sandler horror comedy, Hubie Halloween. Yeah, I watched this movie. Look, Adam Sandler promised us that if he did not get nominated for an Academy Award as Best Actor, that he would give us the worst film. I don't know how it could get any worse from Jack and Jill. I don't. And I will say, this movie's terrible, but it's not as terrible as was promised. So I think that maybe there's another film coming out next year that is even worse than this movie. This movie centers around Adam Sandler's character. His name is Hubie. He is the biggest fan of Halloween, but yet he's the biggest scaredy cat, jumping at every single chance and opportunity that he gets. And he must save Halloween from the treacherous of evil as people start disappearing in his town. Also, he's bullied a lot by everyone in the town, even though he's a really nice guy who cares for others and doesn't really care for himself that much. The problems with this movie are very apparent. Number one, the jokes fall flat right on their face. It's not funny. I think I might have maybe giggled twice in the movie, and that's not even really just me laughing because it was funny. It was just kind of me laughing for the sake of laughing because of how bad this movie is. But it's not a funny movie, and when you put it as this horror comedy, it's not in the least bit a comedy. I think the Halloween atmosphere of this film actually works. That's probably the one thing I can give a positive about, is that it actually puts you in the Halloween mood. My good friend Chris from Filmstock on his Letterboxd review said that this movie really helped put him in the Halloween spirit. And I do agree to that. I think that that's a really good indicator of what this movie's able to do well. But other than that, this movie just falls on its face time and time again. The movie also really kind of hinders itself on trying to make horror funny. But because of the rating of being a PG-13 movie, I don't think it's able to necessarily do well in that aspect. The movie's not scary. Again, it adds to the Halloween atmosphere is really good, but that doesn't mean the movie's scary. And that's not really what it was going for, but there are some things that you want to take out of this movie to make it kind of give you a little bit of a creepy feeling, and it's not able to really do that at all, actually. Hubie Halloween, it's a mess. Is it the dumpster fire that Adam Sandler promised us? No. So that makes me more scared that next year he's coming out with something that's even worse than this. Because this movie, even though it's bad, it's not to the point where it's his worst film. I still think Jack and Jill is horribly, horribly worse in every sense of the word. But that's it. I don't really have anything else to say about Hubie Halloween. There's a lot of Disney Channel stars in here, which is weird. There's a nice touching moment that tributes this film to Cameron Boyce, which I actually found very touching, but I don't know why all the Disney Channel stars were in this movie. Like, a lot of actually talented people were in this movie. Like Ray Liotta's in this movie. What? Anyway, guys, those are my thoughts on Hubie Halloween. What do you guys think about Hubie Halloween? Let me know down below in the comment section of this video. And let's move on to the next film. The next movie I want to talk about is Possessor. This movie was directed by Brandon Cronenberg, the son of David Cronenberg. And it stars Andrea Riseborough, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and other people that might surprise you. This film centers around Andrea Riseborough's character, who is a possessor. She goes in and possesses a body of someone to kill somebody else that is associated with this person. So that way, clients who pay to have these people die are able to either kind of rise in power or be able to kind of kill off someone that they despise. This movie is maybe a masterpiece, but also maybe misinterpreted. And I'm kind of left confused with this film. I think the movie is a really solid psychological thriller, but I don't really know if I understand this movie quite as much. There's a lot to kind of unfold in this movie. There's a lot going on. There are questions that are raised about what is happening inside of these two minds that are trying to basically become the same person. And is the host dominating? Is Andrea Riseborough's character dominating this body? It's kind of up to the interpretation of what is actually happening. Now, there are some things in this movie that are very graphic. It's a very bloody movie, probably one of the most goriest films I've seen in a long time. But I think it actually works well to what this film is trying to accomplish. The tone of the movie is not creepy. It's more sci-fi. It's more mind-bending. but it's able to capitalize on the visuals, capitalize on the violence in a way that allows you to basically see the torture that is happening between Andrea Riseborough's character and this host that she is dominating throughout most of the film. It's a movie that, again, it's just too mind-bending maybe for me. I don't really understand a lot of it, and I think there's multiple viewings that need to be had in order to understand this film, which I think is a little unfortunate. But I do think that this movie works well in terms of what it's trying to go for with the scope. It's a very elusive, huge project that I don't think works for someone who's kind of going in not expecting it to be as mind-bending and as overcompensated as the film actually is. It's a very good film, and I will say that the apple does not fall far from the tree between David Cronenberg and Brandon Cronenberg. And I hope that you liked that I did this review inside of my car. I literally just got out of the theater watching it, and it's a very interesting movie to watch in a theater as well. I think that it kind of suits the theater better. The score is really good, I will say that. It's got a great score, and it's a film that at times can be subtle, but those moments that it's subtle, it is a lot more mind-bending. It's a lot more theory that is happening that you have to kind of interpret and figure out what is actually truly going on within these characters and within this story. There's great performances all around, but it's a movie that I don't know if I'd ever really want to watch again. What did you guys think of Possessor? Let me know down below in the comment section of this video, and let's move on to the next movie. The next movie I want to talk about is Borat II. Finally, a sequel to Borat. I can't believe that this movie actually came out and it was made this year, and it was so secretive. No one knew that this thing was dropping until about a month before it actually dropped. And Sacha Baron Cohen is a genius in my opinion. I love the way that he portrays this character of Borat. I love that a lot of these instances are like real life instances of these people that are kind of in this movie. And this story is very similar to the first Borat in a couple different ways. But the plot for this movie is as follows. Borat has to travel to America to give a gift to the United States power authorities, this including Donald Trump, Mike Pence, and even Rudy Giuliani. And he must try to bring back unity and bring back love to the Kazakhstan nation after the many stains and the ridicule that the nation has faced due to Borat's first time visiting America in the first movie. And along the way, his daughter also joins him on this trip. I will say this, the young woman who plays his daughter is phenomenal in this film. She's great. Maria, I can't remember her last name, but she is insanely good. She's charming in this movie. And you kind of have a little bit more of a dramatic structure to this film that was not necessarily there the first time around with the original Borat. The comedy works. I laughed throughout the entire movie. I thought that there was some scenes that were hilarious, absolutely hilarious, especially one scene that was super effective where Borat dresses up as Donald Trump at this Mike Pence convention and basically tries to offer his daughter to Mike Pence in a Donald Trump suit. It's one of the funniest things I've seen in a movie in a long time, and it hit the right notes. This movie also is very important because it kind of talks about your power to vote, the power that people have, and especially women, them being able to use their voices. So it has a very, very good, hilarious nature to it, as well as kind of this tone to kind of go along with the climate that we're all facing right now, as the election, literally as I'm recording this video, is like a day away. So the country is kind of in turmoil right now. The fact that they shot this movie during COVID too is so incredible to me, because some of the sequences in this film, you could tell were very improv because of the COVID pandemic. And I think that this movie works in strides. It definitely borrows a lot from the first Borat. It's not as good as the first Borat film, but I think there's a lot to love, especially the performance by the young woman who plays his daughter, and also with some of the situational humor that is present in this film. The next movie I want to talk about is Come Play. This is a new horror film. It stars Britta from Community. This movie follows a young family whose son is autistic, who is feeling lonely, left out, and he ends up befriending this monster that kind of lives within technology. All this monster wants to do is be his friend, and so he is tormenting this family to try to get their young son to be his friend forever. This movie sounds ridiculous, and it is very ridiculous. The premise is stupid. It's so unrealistic in every way, but the movie as a horror film works at times and then doesn't work at times. I would say like half of the scares in this movie work. Actually, they're kind of groundbreaking, they're kind of new, and they're kind of different. They actually had some sense of tension, some sense of suspense. But half of the scares, on the other hand, are just jump scares that we've seen time and time and time again. And there's a few tricks that work, there's a few tricks that don't work in this movie that we've seen in other movies played more effectively. And I think that the problem that this movie has is that the movie doesn't necessarily translate from a good idea to a good film, because this is a really good idea. It's different and actually has something to say. And it's basically a movie that tries to make the important message that everyone deserves a friend, regardless of who they are or regardless of how they look or how they appear, in the symbolism of a monster. But the movie, although it has a good idea, doesn't necessarily come across good on screen. There are some things that are really kind of just goofy looking in this film. There are times where the movie just really suspends your belief, and the movie also doesn't do justice, because the ending of this film, I don't want to give any spoilers right now. Maybe I'll talk about it in a future video, like some spoilers for this movie. But the ending of this movie is so confusing to me, because the movie sets up for something completely different to what the ending actually gives you. And it kind of makes you question what their intent was. It's a very ambitious ending, but the ending does not work in the slightest, and therefore the ending, to me, kind of made this movie worse, in my opinion. It's not a bad movie, but it's also not a good movie. It's one of those movies that are kind of like in between. You can watch it, have some fun out of it, but you kind of, after you walk out of the theater, you just kind of forget everything that you watched, and you just don't even think about it anymore, except for that ending, because the ending was confusing, and you're just like, what? But the movie itself is just kind of the same thing I've seen from other horror movies. It has a cool idea, a cool, different, unique idea about friendship that I thought was kind of charming in a way, but the movie just doesn't really do anything different that I was really that impressed with, to be quite honest. Come Play was such a bizarre and strange movie. What do you guys think about Come Play or Borat II? Let me know down below in the comment section of this video your guys' thoughts on these movies, if you had seen them, and if you've seen Come Play. Don't, without giving any spoilers, is it just me or was that ending really weird? That is all the films I wanted to talk about in the month of October. It wasn't nearly a big month for me. I didn't get around to watching some of the bigger films like Trial of the Chicago 7, and that's specifically because in October I like to watch horror films, but I will watch Trial of the Chicago 7 and other films that I missed of this month. And to see what my thoughts are on those films in the future, make sure you guys follow me down below on Letterboxd, which is listed down below in the channel description. Follow me on Letterboxd. It's where I post all my reviews of everything I watch. If you like this video, make sure you click that thumbs up button. Consider hitting the subscribe button if you're brand new to my channel. I post content every single week, and I try to continue to build up this community. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.